What is up, Boiler Nation? We're back. We are back at it. Another brand new season of the Boiler Breakdown podcast starting tonight since it's game week. Finally, it's finally game week. Feels like it's been 5 years. You know us already, but if for whatever reason you're watching or listening for the first time, I'm Tanner Lee, along with one of my two co-hosts, Evan Webb, and our other co-host, Andrew Eiler. Couldn't be with us tonight, or at least not at the beginning. Maybe he'll be joining us later on the episode. We'll have to see, but a thing called work got in the way like it likes to in life. So, but Webby, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
Man, you said it's game week. It's been forever. Obviously, we'll get into our thoughts on the season, but it just feels really good to finally be talking about football. Football that we get to go to a game. Like, that's the big thing, is you and I will be there and can't wait.
Man, I just keep waiting for something to happen to where I can't go to the game, but we're getting closer, inching closer to the first game at Ross State since late November 2019 and the heartbreaking loss to the Hoosiers in the bucket game. But I'm pumped up for Saturday night. But we have been around the Boiler Breakdown. We've had some content out lately. You, myself, and Andrew are lucky enough to join Adam Bartels of the Full Steam Ahead podcast and did a little crossover podcast where we talked our love for Purdue University, Purdue athletics, Boiler football. We talked basketball, women's and men's. We talked volleyball. We talked a little bit about everything. So go check that out. Videos on our YouTube as well as Full Steam Ahead's YouTube. And you can find it on all popular audio platforms. And you also, why don't you tell everybody about the interview you did last week?
Yeah, so as you'll kind of find out later here in the show when we do our sponsor reads, we're lucky enough to be have a new sponsor this season with The Shop based out of Indianapolis. And I was able to do a interview with one of their co-owners, Alex, who just so happens to be a Boiler grad. So that was a lot of fun. Definitely go check it out. So it's a Shop, as we'll talk, as I kind of read in the sponsor read, they definitely had some humble beginnings, and they've now grown to two, brick and mortar stores, one in Indianapolis in the Broad Ripple area and one in Clay Terrace in the Carmel area, and also an online store. And they're giving our listeners a pretty awesome discount, so definitely support them. Small business, obviously Boiler owned. I'm repping one of their shirts today, as well as one of their drink glasses. And I know personally, I've been a fan of them for a couple of years now, and the fact that they're on board is even better.
I need to get myself one of their shirts. I was looking the other day. I was looking yesterday, as a matter of fact, when I was at the airport and making my way back to Indiana. And yeah, I'm gonna have to. It's gonna hurt the bank account. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way. But Webby, yeah, we are here starting another season, our third full season of being a standalone podcast. Fourth, if you include kind of the side piece segment we used to do in one of my other podcasts, as you can kind of see back there. What are you feeling going into this weekend? I mean, got the Oregon State Beavers. I thought it was interesting. This is the first time we've started the year against a Pac-12 opponent, or back then Pac-10 opponent, since we played USC in '98. That was the Pigston Classic. Okay. Drew Brees' first career start. Yeah. On the opposite side of the ball was a guy named Carson Palmer. USC won that game 27-17. But the last time Purdue opened up at home against a Pac-12, then Pac-10 team was back in 1994 against Cal, which Purdue was not very good in '94, but they whooped number 17 Cal that day 44-14.
Didn't we play? I guess we must not have opened up again. I just remember us playing Arizona in 2003-ish or around that time, didn't we? I mean, that must have been not the first game. It must have been like a second or third game. I think we went out there.
Correct. Well, we went out there in 2005.
Okay.
We hosted them in 2003, but they weren't openers.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So in 2003, we opened with a loss against Bowling Green.
Bowling Green, yep. I mean, going back to your question, I'm just super excited. I mean, just the fact that we get to be there in Ross-Ade sounds like it's going to be pretty close to a sellout, which is going to be awesome. Being with Boiler Nation in person for the first time. I know me personally, I haven't been to a Purdue game since the drumming we put on IU in basketball in 2020, right before kind of everything shut down. That was my last sporting event. So I'm excited to get back with, over 50,000 of our closest friends. It's hard for me to distinguish if I'm the positivity is just because I'm getting to go to a game again and things are kind of, somewhat normal of a season, hopefully. Or if I think, we're going to be, a pretty good team this year, which I'm trying to figure out why I feel the way I do, because I kind of go back and forth. But I'm just excited to get things rolling again and hopefully have a pretty normal season than what we're used to compared to last year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think my only difference is my last sporting event was the Rutgers game. Yeah, that fun overtime loss we had on senior night. But yeah, it's going to be great. I don't know what kind of emotions are going to come over me when they run out of the tunnel on Saturday night, or when I step through the gates of Ross Aid and make my way down to my seat. But I'm looking forward to it. Oregon State's going to be a tough opponent. Mm-hmm. Boilers is 7-point favorites, I believe, 7.7 point favorites. Oregon State had some decent wins last year. They beat Oregon. But even in their losses, they were pretty competitive. They put up some points last year. Their defense did allow 400-plus yards usually per game last year, and gave up, I think, 33.5 points. Defensive coordinator for the Beavers is Tim Tibesar. Some Purdue fans might be kind of raising their eyebrows or thinking that name sounds familiar. Well, it should. He was the defensive coordinator in Danny Hope's final season in 2012. So kind of funny how that stuff works sometimes. Mm-hmm. But they're returning, I believe, 8 defensive starters out of 12. Okay. I think at one time it looked like 9, but one of their defensive ends is hurt for the first 6 games, at least the first 6 weeks. They're returning their complete offensive line. Okay. Which is always tough for a defensive line to go against. Mm-hmm. Quarterback that decided today, his name's escaping me right now. He's Colorado transfer. He was second team Pac-12 last year.
I'll see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, I know you sent it through a text message.
Yeah, just close that. Sam Neuer.
Sam Neuer. So I just know he's Colorado transfer, was second team to Pac-12.
I think he's a senior, redshirt senior, something like that. So he's experienced.
Yep. So I would say, their program's been a lot like Purdue's over the past decade, a lot of ups and downs. But I think they're trending in the right direction. So. We'll see what the guys from Corvallis can bring. Purdue and Oregon State have only played together once. That was back in the 1960s. Purdue was ranked number 2 and lost in an upset to Oregon State. So I think it was 1967 or 68 off the top of my head. But this is the first of a home and home, which we'll see the Boilers go out to Corvallis and then sometime eventually. I forget.
2074 or something like that.
Yeah, I forget. The games get scheduled so far in advance. But, we do know the starting quarterback is for the Boilers. Jack Plummer, redshirt junior, was announced. When was it? Thursday, I believe. Thursday, he was announced the starter. That's right, because Jeff Brom had his first radio show on Wednesday. Said they'd be announcing the starter soon, and then Jack Plummer was officially announced on Thursday. What are your thoughts on that?
I like it. Obviously, I was good with either Plumber or O'Connell. I like both guys, both as players and as people. But I was I was thinking it was going to be Plumber. I was hoping it was Plummer, just because of the fact I like his ability to, just like it's been well documented for what Brom says, his ability to move should he need to. His athleticism is a bit better than O'Connell. Obviously, O'Connell probably has a bit better of a ball, but Jack still has a pretty good arm. He was the quarterback, the first quarterback that Brom recruited to Purdue, wasn't he? I think he was kind of the
Yeah, he was the first for part of his first full recruiting class.
So I'm excited to see him get out there. He does not have a great record as a starter, but I'm not sure how much stock you put into that, just given some of the games. I think he's 2-9, 2-7. I think 2-7, 2-9 as a starter, something like that. Obviously, one of those was the Minnesota game last year, which we don't need to rehash.
Nope.
But like I said, I'm excited. I think he's going to do well. I just hope that the offensive line gives him time so that Bell and Wright can get open and score a lot of points.
Yeah, the offensive line's a cause for concern a little bit. The depth, I should say, Maybe I think the starting 5 will be. I want to say that it's going to be Brom's strongest offensive line he's had yet. But from a depth standpoint, I think they only feel confident playing 7 guys.
Yeah, which is obviously a concern, just given the nature of football, and in that position, guys go down, whether it's for a partial game or even a full game. Hopefully, we've been bitten by the injury bug lately in the last couple of years. So hopefully, we get some guys that can stay healthy for once.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's, we bring up last year, the COVID year. It's just so weird. I kind of throw that year out of the books. But then 2019, the team was so snake bitten by injuries. I mean, they were playing true freshmen and redshirt freshmen across the board. We had that absurd consecutive touchdown streak. I think it was 22 straight touchdowns scored by a freshman. So I think Purdue fans kind of have to remember there's been some bad luck on the program side the last 2 years, but I understand. And I think Jeff Brom and staff understands this is a big year for the program.
What's your thoughts on Plummer?
I wasn't surprised by the announcements. About 2 months ago, if you would have asked me, I would have said Aiden O'Connell because Aiden won the job last year in a surprise, and I just kind of thought that's the way the staff was leaning. I like both quarterbacks. I think they both bring different intangibles to the table. I think O'Connell has the bigger arm, but he lacks mobility. Jack can move around a little bit more and create stuff outside of the pocket. And I'm not saying Jack has an awful arm. I just think Aiden has a stronger arm.
Yeah.
And maybe he's a little more accurate. I just want to see Jack improve on his decision making. He's going to have to. He cannot turn the ball over as much as he has in the past, which he did a better job last year than he did in 2019, which is
understandable. He was a freshman in 2019 or redshirt.
Exactly. It comes with experience. So, but this is the year he needs to take the next step.
Yeah.
He needs to take the next step. Like you mentioned, he was Jeff's quarterback in the very first recruiting class Jeff had, full recruiting class. And it's time for him to take that next step. I would love for him to be the only starter all year because that means he's playing well and Purdue's playing well and he's stayed healthy because I am sick of the two quarterback situation. I mean, besides 2016 when David Blau started every game, Purdue hasn't had one guy start every game since 2009 and Joey Elliott. That's crazy.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Who do you think we see on the field first? Aiden O'Connell or why am I blanking on his name now? Austin Burton.
I think we see Austin Burton on Saturday. I think we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they have installed, and this is just me going off my crazy wild take predictions and opinions. I think they've put in a package or two, more of a running offense for him.
Yeah, I hope so. Just because he obviously didn't see the field at all last year, and he transferred out from. I thought it was kind of a weird transfer in the first place, given we already had two guys who had started, but obviously he came here for a reason and hopefully get a chance to utilize it. But I kind of think the same thing. I hope we don't see, as much as I like O'Connell, I hope we don't see him because I think if that's the case, and it's either because Plumber got hurt or is playing poorly. And I don't want to. I'm tired of, like you said, tired of the two quarterback system.
Well, and it'll be interesting because Jeff stated he's not afraid to play multiple quarterbacks. So how long's the leash got to be for Jack?
Or is it something that we see from in 2018 where we did like one quarterback started and then one played the second quarter and they kind of I'm not a big fan of that.
That's hard to keep guys hot. I mean, we even saw some of that back in 2011, 2012 when it was Robert Marvin, Caleb Turbush. There were sometimes they were going quarter for quarter or series for series, and that just doesn't work. I don't fully believe in the old saying if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. Yeah. But I think it matters how you use them.
Yeah, and it helps with the guys for getting in the rhythm, like not just the quarterbacks, but the other players too. I mean, when you're constantly changing out the guy throwing the ball, having to consistently revert back to remembering each guy's cadence and each guy's obviously they've worked together all the time after practice, during practice, but having just that one guy out there the whole time, I think it just makes it easier for everybody.
Hey, Evan, can you make sure your mic's plugged in? I'm getting some weird audio feedback on your end once in a while, but just FYI real quick.
Yeah, I'll move my phone.
Okay. Okay. So, what's besides the offensive line, what's your biggest question marks or concerns on the offense side of the ball?
Ooh, good question.
Or do you have any?
I guess my question is what's the running game going to be like, which I guess is kind of tied to the offensive line. I kind of talked about it when we talked with Adam last week. I kind of mentioned, I'm a Bears fan, and I see a lot of parallels between Matt Nagy and Jeff Brom and the fact that they both like to abandon the run pretty damn quickly.
Yep.
So I'd like to see a more consistent run game, but obviously that's that not just on the coach, but also on the players too, and getting a run game going. I think we have two really capable running backs in Daru and Horvath. Have they said which one's going to technically start, Magus?
I think everybody's leaning towards Horvath. That's why I've seen the projected depth charts. And coming off last year's strong season, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I like to see us establish it just because it's going to only help the offense that much more and open up the passing game for Plumber more. So I think just how is our run game going to look this year? Just because it just hasn't really been there, much the last couple of seasons. So, and obviously depth plays a big role in that too. You don't want these guys getting hurt, but I think that's definitely my biggest question mark in terms of, I guess, other than like who's going to fill that, third or fourth receiver spot besides Bell and Milton Wright. So
is Cross the third running back?
I would be surprised if it's the transfer from UNLV, the walk-on.
Oh yeah.
I've heard, we've been reading good things about him on Gold and Black. I think he's a walk-on, but I've heard he's been doing pretty well at camp. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's the third guy.
That's right. That's
right.
I'm
blanking on his name. I think he's from Carmel.
He is. I'm blanking on his name too.
Transfer from UNLV. So
Downing, is that right? Dalen Downing?
Sounds right to me.
I was gonna say pull up the roster because that's one thing. There we go. We got B Smith 9 here on Periscope on Dalen. Yep. Okay, that's right. I was gonna say because that's one thing I take pride in knowing.
Yeah, you know the roster pretty well typically. I feel like this year, I have to buy a program. I never buy programs. I have to buy a program this year because I'm not going to know anybody on the defense.
Dalen Downing, right there.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you,
Robert. Yep. Because I'm right there with you, Webby. It's like I usually know the guys by their numbers, and this year, just because last year's weird year, and the transfer portals kind of changed everything, I'm gonna have to buy a program Saturday night and study it a little bit so I don't sound like an idiot on these podcasts.
Used to help me know the roster a lot was physically putting them into NCAA football like we used to do when we were kids, which is just my way of saying bring back NCAA football.
I 100% agree. Let me sign up on that any day of the week because that was a good, and I miss importing the rosters of guys who literally would do it for every team, which was unbelievable. But all right, let's switch from offense to real quick. I should say, the one position I'm not worried about is wide receiver.
Yeah.
I'm not, or tight end.
If we end up being worried, then God help us.
Because David Bell is David Bell. He's got to do David Bell things. We better enjoy him this year while we can. Milton Wright, I think he's gonna have a huge year. I think he had a good year last year. Jackson Anthrop, he is what he is. He's Mr. Consistent. He's got to give it his all every play. Good to have him back for another year of leadership. TJ Sheffield had a little off the field incident, but doesn't look like that's gonna keep him out of any games or anything. I think he should be the slot receiver. I think he'll be one of the returners, both punt and kick returner. I'm also really excited for Marshawn Rice. That's one guy everybody's been raving about. And don't forget Brock Thompson, the Marshall transfer.
I think he's going to be a guy where I think people are like, he's going to be kind of one of those guys that are playing pretty consistently with Bell and Wright by the end of the year.
Marcellus Moore, where does he fit into fold with his speed on offense? Time will tell. I think he'll definitely return some kicks. Does Colin Sullivan get any time this year or any other of the redshirt freshman wide receivers? I don't think any of the true wide receivers get on the field. I would be surprised, but we'll see. We'll see. And then tight ends, I think will be a stacked room. Payne Durham, Garrett Miller, Kyle Bilodeau. I think are the three to lead the way there.
The entire receiving core, both tight ends and receivers, are going to make hopefully life a lot easier for Plumber. But just it's again going back to offensive line, got to give Plumber time. Plumber's can't make mistakes and can't force anything because we're not going to be able to. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to outscore everybody like we want to, but I mean we'll be able to put up some points for sure.
All right, real quick question for you before we flip to the defense side of the ball. So, guessing that David Bell leads the team in touchdown and receiving yards, who is number 2 for those two categories for Purdue this year?
Payne Durham.
For both?
Yeah.
All right.
I think we're going to have them tight ends.
I like Payne Durham for the second and touchdowns, but for yards, I'll go Milton Wright. I think he's ready to explode.
I think that was the obvious answer, so I feel like I had to go different, a little different.
Yeah. Who do you think has more rushing touchdowns, Doru or Horvath?
I feel like Horvath, just because I feel like we're gonna get down in the red zone and just need someone just to hopefully bust through for a couple yards. I'm gonna go out and say I think Doru has more yards this year, but I think touchdowns is Horvath.
B Smith 9 says Sampson.
Oh.
I don't know if he's referring to Sampson James, the transfer from Indiana. I don't think he's going to be eligible this year.
We'll see. I mean, thought I saw something on the boards of somebody saying that there was an example of a kid who transferred just recently to I don't remember where, and he got a waiver. I don't know the kid's circumstances, so I mean, who knows? The NCAA sometimes hands those out like candy. I'd love to have him in the room because that would be a great addition. But yeah,
he's very talented, and I feel like Jeff Brom said something about him today in his press conference, but I did not catch what that was. So, defense side of the ball, brand new look on defense, meaning a brand new staff. Bob Diaco fired after 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Some other coaches let go. Some others left for opportunities elsewhere. So brand new staff, 3 co-defensive coordinators, and Brad Lambert coming from Marshall. He will call the defensive plays when it comes down to it.
Is he up in the booth? Do we know that?
I have no idea.
I would assume.
Mark Hagan, longtime Purdue coach under Tiller and under Danny Hope, defensive line coach. He's also coached at Texas, Indiana, some other places. Welcome face coming back for sure. And then Ron English, defensive back coach. He's been head coach at Eastern Michigan. He's been a defensive back coach at Florida. So those are just 3 of the new additions among some other ones. But yeah, I'm excited because we don't know what to expect.
Right. I mean, the word we're hearing from a lot of people, whether it be player or coach, is aggressive. So I hope that rings true on Saturday and we're able to get after the quarterback because
no more 10-yard cushion.
Well, I think we had like 5 sacks last year as a team or something stupid.
Yeah,
like that.
I mean George did get hurt a game and a half into the season,
and then like 2 of them. So
then got COVID. Yeah. And he did have 2 sacks in 2 games last year, or a game and a half. So
I mean that's because obviously there's a lot of question marks kind of in the backfield, defensive backfield. So I think the key is that front 7, just getting pressure on the quarterback and getting those stops. And big thing is just getting off the field on 3rd down. That's where we really struggled last year. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, that's obviously a huge question mark as a whole as a defense in terms of what we're going to see. But I'm really excited to see kind of what these guys have brought. Because I feel like it just sounds like obviously last year there's a lot of, not a whole lot of communication going on, or lack of communication from the top down in terms of Diaco and everybody else. So it sounds like this is a pretty collaborative effort, and hopefully that, pays dividends on the field.
Yeah, I know George Karlaftis has set a bar for himself for 14.5 sacks this year. Whew. So he had 8 2 years ago as a true freshman, which is pretty good. If he can have 14.5 or more, he might be vying for the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year award.
Yeah, which in order for him to get that, I think someone else has got to step up and be, a force up there, whether it's Mitchell or somebody with something. Because if it's just him, then I can't see unless he gets, 14 against, we don't have any cupcakes on the schedule, so that doesn't even make any sense. So I'm not sure who's going to get 14 from.
I sure hope UConn's a cupcake, but
maybe we'll get like 14 in that game alone.
That would be great. But we'll talk about that game next week in more detail. But do you happen to have access to Tom Dienhardt's projected depth charts by chance?
I can get it.
Okay. Because I would like to see, especially on defense, who he's got projected, because I did not look at that very closely. But I know I'm anxious to see what O.C. Brothers can bring to the field. He's one of the multiple SEC transfers that came to Purdue. They've been raving about him through the spring. So I'm anxious to see him out there. Yanni Karlaftis, arguably Purdue's biggest recruit they got in this recruiting class. How much is he going to play? I don't think he'll start. I think he'll get a lot of snaps. I think he'll play some special teams. Now, he could be starting by the end of the year. I'm not saying that might not be the case, but linebacker is going to be a position that Purdue has quite a bit of depth at. And defense in general should have a lot of depth. I don't think Purdue's had this much depth at defense as Brom's got there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A lot of new faces there, a lot of transfers. Like I said, this is the most transfers Purdue's ever gotten. The transfer portal has helped that across the board on both offense, defense, and special teams. Once you get that up, let me know.
I'm trying to find it. He had it on the boards, but
yes, he did.
Special teams.
Maybe go to his name and see.
That's what I am doing. Defense. Here we go. Man.
Okay.
Wow. All right. Expected depth chart defense. So, first team on defense with the ends, Karlaftis, obviously. Nose tackle, Lawrence Johnson, Jr. Other tackle, Branson Dean, Jr. The Leo position, DeMarcus Mitchell. Thank God he got his stuff figured out.
He got his classwork done, yep.
Yep. Weak side OC brother, redshirt freshman, middle linebacker Jalen Alexander, the senior. Strong side Jalen Graham. Hopefully he can have a big year. I think he's itching to have a big year.
That I mean, on paper, sounds like a pretty solid linebacking core to me.
Yep, absolutely. Defensive backs, you're starting to Corey Trice, the junior, and Dedrick Mackey. I think those are both solid starters. I really like Corey Trice. I know he came in for a safety position, but he's done a pretty good job at the cornerback spot. And their backups are Anthony Rumpf and Jamari Brown, respectively. And then this is the position group I'm really excited. I'm excited to watch because I like both these guys a lot. Is the safeties. One guy more. I like both of them, but Marvin Grant, the sophomore, and then Cam Allen, the junior. I'm a big Marvin Grant fan. I really want him to be unleashed. I mean, we saw some flashes of it last year where he stood a guy up, and I just want to see that every single week.
I mean, he picked up Wandale Robinson last year against Nebraska without a helmet on.
Yeah. I just have flashes of Bernard Pollard. I just want to see him just lay some guys out. And Cam Allen is a great athlete, and I like both of them. And they're too deep. There is Sanusi Kane, the sophomore, and Chris Jefferson, the senior, as their backups.
I agree with B. Smith 9 here. He says he feels like the defense can be under the radar good.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah.
But he also says can't get hit by the injury bug. 100%. Because on the more you listen to those guys on paper, I like the sound of that defense.
I think it's a big. The scheme is going to be what does it. Because I think we saw last year, just you got to put your best players in a position to succeed, and I feel like that just wasn't the case last year, and put a lot of stress on the defensive backs, and hopefully this aggressive style can hopefully get some pressure on the quarterback and make those guys' jobs a lot easier this year, but also don't give them 15 yards of cushion.
Right. So it's going to be interesting to see what I wouldn't be opposed to the Boilers deferring if they win the kickoff Saturday night and get the defense out there, get the crowd pumped up, get 3 and out or a turnover right away, and then let the offense go to work. Special teams got 2 new specialists, a new punter and a new kicker. The punter's actually not transferred. The punter's a 23-year-old freshman from Australia. The kicker is a transfer from Samford. The Bulldogs. Both their names are escaping me right now, so if you can
I'm trying to pull that up too.
You can pull that up, that would help me. I'm very prepared tonight if you can't tell. That's why I said I need a program. I could have the roster here in front of me, but
let's see here. So kicker Mitchell Finneran, he's the transfer, isn't he?
Yes, from Samford. Yep.
Yes, and then Jack Ansel, the freshman, land down under.
23-year-old freshman. He's definitely a rugby style kicker or punter, I should say. And then I'm guessing the returners. And Robert helped here, Jack Ansel. See, this is why we have people who tune into the Boiler Breakdown to help us, because we need help. In returners, I want to see Marcellus Moore and TJ Sheffield back there to return kicks.
Yep, he's got first team kick return TJ Sheffield and Marcellus Moore, and then punt return first team Jackson Anthrop, and second team Brock Thompson.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with Jackson being there because he's Mr. Reliable. He's not going to fumble the ball. He's going to make smart decisions. But I do also like having a punt return that can create some havoc back there as far as big playability. But at the end of the day, I do want somebody who doesn't fumble.
We do remember when Rondell tried to make a play at Nevada, right? And
fumbled twice.
Yeah, that was
it hurt them bad. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, sometimes you don't want your playmakers back there and in risk of injury either.
What are your thoughts on Braum making the comment that they're going to have a lot more starters on special teams?
I think it's fine, honestly, if you don't have too many. I know special teams can be dangerous, but I mean, if you don't have the reserves that are good specialists, you need to put your best guys out there because special teams can win and lose you ball games.
Yeah.
Especially tight ball games.
Yeah, maybe not so much win, but they can definitely lose you a close game, as we saw at Nevada.
At Nevada, I was going to say, ask Nebraska over the weekend against Illinois.
Yeah. When he first said that, I was like, I don't know if I like that because I can just see like 3 guys going out on one play or someone getting lit up. But then I was like, I kept reading. He's like, we looked around the conference and the country and saw kind of the trend. And I was like, I mean, they did that. Obviously, they're not idiots, so I trust them.
Yeah,
I'm not a coach. I just play when I'm Madden. So.
yeah. We don't do even good at that. Let's be honest. But all right, let's get into it. Let's look at the schedule as a whole. So, open up Saturday with Oregon State.
Yep.
Then we go to UConn.
That game.
which UConn, for everybody that doesn't know, they opted out of football last year. They're independents now.
Yep.
So in their first game in 2 years was at Fresno State on Saturday. They lost 45-0 and had 107 total yards. So I'm going on record right now, a week ahead of time. If we lose to UConn, it's the worst loss in program history.
Yeah.
History.
I don't know how Brom could come back from that unless we just come back and absolutely lay an absolute whooping on Notre Dame. But even then, still, like, that's not a one you want to lose. And it's one of those, like, it's a lot like the Nevada game, which I think makes me so nervous. It's like, it's such a lose-lose. Unless you win by 30, it's like, oh God, we couldn't even beat UConn by 3 touchdowns. But then obviously if you lose, it's the end of the world, and Tanner's got to eat his hat.
Exactly. I mean, for longtime listeners and viewers of the podcast, when we had a friend of the show, Aaron Lynch, on one time, I said I would eat and I remember which one it was. It's my camouflage black and silver Puma golf hat that I was wearing that night. I said I'd eat my hat if UConn beat Purdue. Now, I don't want any Boiler Breakdown listeners or fans rooting against Purdue so they can watch me eat my hat. But that's how confident I am that we will not lose that game. But week 3, I think the Boilers have to be 2-0 going into this game. I can't express how important this Oregon State game is to get off to a good start, because I feel like last year that fluke bogus loss, I'm going to call it, to Minnesota, derailed the rest of the season. Year before that, it was the Nevada one we've talked about a few times tonight that we choked away, kind of derailed the momentum of the rest of the season. I think Purdue's got to get this win Saturday night. Do you
I don't really consider the Iowa game, obviously, because we talk about Brom and opening games. He didn't coach last year, and
that's right. I forgot about that.
COVID, and then it's okay. Well, then we came back and beat Illinois at Illinois when he was back. But do you really consider that his first game? Because we already had a game under our belt, and you had film, for the current team. So I still kind of consider him winless in opening games, because people can disagree with me.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about till right now. And now that's very concerning that you brought that up. But no, I just think, I don't want to do the Daryl Hazel at Marshall, put all our eggs in one basket, but that turned out well. But like everything in the Hazel era. But I just think this is such an important game for the rest of the season. If they want to make a bowl, they got to get this first one, and you got to get the first 2. And going to Notre Dame week 3, because that's going to be an uphill battle. I do like seeing the Irish back on the schedule. First time since 2014. First time going to South Bend since 2012. We're then going to see a 2-year drop off, I believe, after this year, but then a home and home picks back up for 6 straight years.
This is their green out.
Yeah, it's stupid. That's dumb, but that's okay.
I saw one of their bloggers was not happy that it was like, we're doing, like, why don't we do this against USC? We're doing it against Purdue. And I was like, hey, now let's be nice.
And it will be their first NBC home game, because Toledo game the week before is going to be on Peacock.
Okay.
Not that probably makes any difference or anything, but so then we have Notre Dame. And then the rest of the schedule, I'm trying to do this off the top of my head without looking.
I got
we have Illinois at home, Minnesota at home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I need some help.
They are ranked in the top 25.
Is it at Iowa?
You are correct.
At Iowa. Then is it Wisconsin at home?
Yep.
Then is it at Ohio State?
Can you tell me what the so Minnesota was homecoming. Can you tell me what the event is for the Wisconsin game?
No.
We do it every year.
Band Day?
No. That is.
Do we even have Band Day anymore?
I don't really have Band Day. It might be. I don't think it is.
Because this Saturday is Military Appreciation.
Yep. Wisconsin game's Hammer Down Cancer game.
Oh.
And Family Day. I always get Family Day and Band Day. I always think Family Day and Band Day are the same.
I think they got rid of Band Day now that I think about it. What's the Illinois game?
Ag Day.
All right, that's fitting. So then after Wisconsin, we go to Ohio State?
Nope.
No.
Our favorite.
Oh, we go to Nebraska.
Yep.
Then is it to Ohio State?
Nope. Another home. It's a home game.
Michigan State.
Yep.
Then to Ohio State.
Correct.
Then to Northwestern at Wrigley Field.
Yep.
Then Indiana at home. Okay.
Yep.
All right, Webby. So predictions. Record predictions.
All right. I think we're going 2-0. Start off.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there.
I think we lose at Notre Dame.
Oh, I'm agreeing. I don't want to, but they're going to be double-digit favorites. I would think.
In my head, I'm like, we're going to win 6 games. But I feel like when I do this, we're going to be like 9-3 or something.
I already gave my prediction for the Boilers in the podcast I did before this, so I'm sticking with my prediction from there.
I'm just so biased. I think we get Illinois.
I think we get Illinois, and I think Illinois is going to be undefeated coming into that game.
Yeah, I mean they're old. They got the most seniors or super seniors. In college football.
Bielema's a better coach than Lovey.
Yeah. I think we finally get Minnesota.
I do too.
I hope to God. I think we lose at Iowa.
I do too. Even though Brahms 3-1 up there and darn near got him in 2019, I think this Iowa team's going to be very, very good.
So what are we at there? We are 4-2.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, until we do it, I don't see us beating Wisconsin. Until we've been close. We were close in 2017.
I have Wisconsin going 12-0.
Really?
Their schedule.
Graham. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Mertz.
Their schedule. They don't play Ohio State. They got Penn State at home this week. They get.
Oh, that's this week. Oh, I forgot about that.
They either don't play Michigan, or if they do, they get them at home. They get Iowa at home. It's just everything lines up to.
And if you have a Camp Randall, that's a big.
They do play Notre Dame at Soldier Field.
Well, that'd be pretty cool.
They were supposed to play at Lambeau last year. It was a 2-year series.
Okay.
They play at Soldier, but I think they're going to be better than Notre Dame.
So
and they're going to be familiar. They're going to be familiar with Notre Dame's quarterback since he transferred from Wisconsin, Jack Cohn.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
So I think I'm agreeing with you. I know my dad will disagree with me because my dad said this is the year we end the Wisconsin streak because we should have had them
2018
in 2018 when we lost in double overtime at home.
Yeah.
But until it happens, I'm with you. I just can't go against them.
So that's 4-3. Mm-hmm. Is that right? I think we get Nebraska because Scott Shroff is.
I do too.
Sidebar. That comment he made today, and for those who didn't know, I think he was asked about, or they just made a comment about the game and how their entire half their playbook was thrown out as soon as they lined up. And I'm like, why say that?
It just makes him sound like he's way in over his head. It's like, if you're a halfway decent coach or staff, you find ways to adjust during the game because Bielema's coached in so many different places. I'm not surprised that he threw something out that they weren't prepared for.
Yeah. I mean, and there's the whole thing. I mean, I know our friend Josh, who's a somewhat Illinois fan. We don't really know. We'll see. But he kind of said, like, I think that was definitely Illinois' advantage going to the game was the fact that Bielema hadn't coached in a couple of years, so you can't really look at previous teams. I mean, you look at teams that are 3 years old from him, and who knows what he's done. But I think that was definitely an advantage for the line. But
that's a way to lose your fan base if you hadn't already, making stupid comments like that. But I agree. I think we get Nebraska there, so we have us a 5-3 so far. We're agreeing so far.
Yeah. Michigan State. I don't know what to think about this Michigan State team.
Awful.
New coach.
That's a win.
Okay. I couldn't remember.
Well, they were bad last year.
That's true. They were.
But last year was a weird year. But I don't think Mel Tucker's got to get it rolling there for a little while.
We win this because.
So that'd make us bowl eligible right there, right?
Yeah, it would. It would. Yeah, it would. Wow, that'd be fun. Be bowl eligible in early November. I hadn't seen that in a long time. Going to Columbus, the fact that it's not at West Lafayette, we're not going to win that game.
No, I'm not looking for. I also think, and they have a tougher schedule in Wisconsin. I think we see Ohio State go 12-0. I think we see 2 undefeated teams in the Big Ten championship game.
I'm so sick of being Indy go red for the Big Ten championship
I know,
games. It's always,
I know, but Ohio State is elite. They're on another level than anybody else in the Big Ten. I hate them, but they're good.
Yep. Northwestern, I think they get us in that one. I think it'll be a fun game. I do
too, Webby.
They're a little better. I think it's one of those teams that we have to beat if we want to get to the next level, but we're not there yet.
I think like them and Minnesota are two huge coin tosses at the beginning of the year. And,
Yeah.
and I agree with you. I know we got Northwestern 2 years ago, but Fitzgerald has Brom's number, and they have Purdue's number over the last decade.
Yeah, I mean, he's a hell of a coach.
He is.
Even though he makes really stupid comments at times. I
Yes.
go back and forth with if I like him or not.
Right.
So that, and then we get the bucket back.
Yeah, I honestly, we didn't even rehearse this, and that's exactly what I have. Purdue going 7-5, 5-4 in the conference. Sign me up right now.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, 7-5, that would probably get us. Trying to think what kind of a bowl game we'd get. A pretty decent one. Probably similar to like a Music City Bowl.
Yeah.
I think we were definitely bumped up that year because of the Rondale factor. So I think we probably a similar bowl of that nature. So.
Yeah, no, we're agreeing 100% there. That's surprising. I thought for a second you were going to go 8-4. I thought you were going to go with win over Northwestern.
I really thought I was like, I mean, we haven't really. Yeah, we had the 1 year when they were bad, and O'Connell led that kind of like game-winning drive, which is cool for him being from the Chicago area. Right. But yeah, they Fitzgerald has it figured out up there, and
I do think they're going to take a step back. I mean, last year, remember, they won the West. They lost a lot. Hunter Johnson is their quarterback this year. I do think they take a step back, but I think I predicted their record to be 8-4, so I had them just ahead of Purdue. Robert asked a question here on Facebook: does Purdue actually get to play Penix, or will he have been hurt for half a season prior to that point?
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
I mean, it depends on if they're idiots and call him to do rollouts like they did when he got hurt last year when they made him when he did like a QB rollout. I didn't understand that at all. But
and I never wish injury upon anybody, but given his injury history, I wouldn't put good odds on him making it to the bucket game.
Yeah.
So, well, do you want to go through and predict other Big Ten games?
Let's do it.
Even though we technically didn't even, we technically did pick Purdue's game, I guess there. But do you think Purdue covers? What's your final score prediction, Purdue, Oregon State? Let's start off there.
35-24. So, yeah, we cover.
Yeah, like I said, Tim Tibesar's defense gave up about 33 points on average. So I'm actually feeling pretty good. I'm going 38-21.
Okay. That would be – I'm going to be feeling real good.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? We can all enjoy some Boiler Golds or Boiler Blacks a little early.
Yep.
Got a comment here from Dustin on Twitter. Ohio State probably has a wall papered with our mean tweets since they got plenty of bulletin board material. Plenty.
Oh, God.
Plenty. And Webby and I, we have never seen a win at the Horseshoe. Should have had one in 2012 and could have had one in 2003. But neither happened. All right, we got some Thursday night games around the Big Ten. We got Temple at Rutgers. Rutgers is a 14-point favorite.
I think Greg Schiano is going to surprise some people this year. I mean, I'm not sure what a surprise is for Rutgers, but I think they're going to win some games they shouldn't.
Yep.
And I think Rutgers. Well, that was a 14-point favorite. I think they cover that.
Yep, I agree. I think Rutgers goes about 5-7 this year. I think he's still making that improvement. He's not getting them to a bowl yet, but he's making improvement. Number 4, Ohio State at Minnesota Thursday night. Buckeyes are a 14-point favorite. Does Fleck pull the upset, or do the Buckeyes loosen the plug on his rowboat a little early in the season?
I hope Ohio State doubles that cover, that spread.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's going to be really good. I actually predicted Minnesota to be 5-7 this year.
Okay. Do we know, is Ohio State starting that freshman kid who reclassified, or do we know who's their starting?
They're starting Stroud. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe by everything I've read. So, I think Ohio State covers that 14-point spread. Friday night, interesting one in Evanston. Michigan State at Northwestern. Northwestern is a 3-point favorite.
I'm a little intrigued by the spread here.
Yeah, me too.
I think Northwestern covers that.
I do too. Usually these two teams play pretty competitive games. They're not the highest scoring games.
Yeah.
But I like Northwestern there. In-state battle, Western Michigan at Michigan. Michigan's a 17-point favorite.
I think Michigan covers that. I mean, I don't know anything about Michigan this year other than that I hate hardball. So
I had Michigan go 9-3 this year, but still not beating Ohio State. So in the end, it doesn't matter for their fan base. But I have Michigan covering this. I don't think Western Michigan's supposed to be one of the better MAC schools. Fox big noon game. This is a good one. Number 19, Penn State at number 12, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 5.5-point favorite.
First game back in a packed Camp Randall. I think the was going to be rocking. I think Wisconsin. I don't think they covered. I think it's a 3-point game. I think it's going to go down to the wire.
I'd go Wisconsin by about 10. I said, I already made my feelings known about Wisconsin. I think they're going to be really, really good. Got an easy schedule to do something special. James Franklin, he's been a good coach for Penn State, but I think this is a big year for him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, really last year, again, you can't throw it. I mean, they didn't have Parsons last year, and they had obviously well documented the first game against Indiana where they lost and definitely just beat themselves when they could have won, but it kind of just all downhill from there. But yeah, it's definitely a huge year for them.
Fordham at Nebraska. There's no cover on this.
I think Nebraska wins, but
they're gonna win. They're gonna win by like 1 million. I mean, if Nebraska loses to Fordham, Scott Frost needs fired before he even gets to the locker room. Their AD needs to go down, have the papers ready, hand them to him on the field before he even gets to the locker room.
I agree.
West Virginia, 2.5-point favorites at Maryland.
Again, I know nothing about Maryland this year.
I think I predicted Maryland to win 2 games and go 0 in the conference. Yeah. So I think West Virginia gets them.
Yeah.
Even matchup here on paper as far as the rankings are concerned. 17 Indiana at number 18 Iowa. Iowa's a 3.5-point favorite.
This is a tough one. Bias is going to get me. I'm picking Iowa. I mean, you're talking Kinnick at night, or it's 3:30, so it's not a night game, but getting into the night. But I mean, again, Kinnick is a pretty hard place to win at, and I think a packed Kinnick is going to be tough to beat.
I agree, and Iowa usually gives Indiana problems. Indiana faces Iowa week 1, then Cincinnati team that's ranked 10th right now, week 3, and then they got the East. I mean, they still got Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. They got to play. It could be tough sailing for Indiana team and program that's got some momentum going. I think Iowa gets them week 1, and I'm not just saying that because I don't like Indiana. I think Iowa wins 10 games. I think Iowa goes 10-2.
Okay.
I think Ferentz has a good team on paper this year.
Who do you think they lose to? Wisconsin and
who did I pick them to lose to? Let me look at Iowa State and Wisconsin. Iowa State's ranked 7th. They play their week. They play their week 2. Mm-hmm. Brock Purdy's one of the better quarterbacks in the country.
Yep.
I think Iowa State will get them. And then lastly, for the Big Ten, we got University of Texas San Antonio, the Roadrunners, one of the coolest nicknames in Division I, at Illinois. Interesting that Illinois is only a 6-point favorite.
I mean, I think they're going to ride the momentum. I think Bielema is going to get them off to a little bit of a good start, and yes, I think they're undefeated until Boilers come.
I agree. I actually had Illinois winning 6 games this year. I have 10 of the 14 Big Ten teams being eligible for bowls.
Okay.
With the 4 not being eligible is Nebraska, Minnesota, Michigan State, and Rutgers. Oh, and Maryland. So I lied. So 9.
Still a good amount.
Yeah. Let me count. Nebraska, Minnesota. Yeah. 9. Yeah. Yep. So, did you want to do any top 25 games?
Sure. I'm not sure. I don't know much about any of these teams, but let's do it.
I mean, it's week 1. It's hard to tell anything or predict anything, but I'll just pick out a few because there are some awful matchups. Like, for instance, I'm not going to do Southern Utah at Arizona State, where Arizona State's a 44-point favorite. But this one should be a good one.
Carolina versus the Citadel.
Exactly. Friday night, number 10, North Carolina. They got Sam Howell, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. 5.5-point favorites at Virginia Tech. Big game for Justin Fuentes. Big season for Justin Fuentes, a coach who had all the momentum coming from Memphis a couple years ago and hasn't lived up to expectations.
Virginia Tech has one of the coolest entrances in all of college football. I'm going to go with North Carolina. I mean, obviously they've got a great quarterback. I'm not sure how good they're going to be, but hey, Mac Brown. Right.
Yeah. I mean, they still got some talent. They're ranked 10th. They did lose a couple running backs to the NFL, but I think Carolina gets them from anywhere from 7 to 10 points, so I think they cover that spread. Should be going, though. Fresno State at number 11, Oregon. Oregon's a 20.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I think Fresno State was just their win against UConn was just a product of UConn being awful. So I think Oregon. I'm gonna say they cover that.
I think Oregon wins, but Fresno covers.
Okay.
I have respect for this Fresno State program. I think they've always been a pretty good little mid-major program. I mean, right away, I think David and Derek Carr when I think Fresno State and Trent Dilfer. Can't forget about Trent Dilfer. He's now a pumped-up high school coach, yelling at kids.
God, yeah.
I wonder what that kid did to deserve that. I mean, he must have did something. But yeah, I think Oregon wins, but I think Fresno covers. Miami, Ohio at number 8, Cincinnati. Cincinnati's 23-point favorites.
In-state game.
I don't think Big Ben's walking through those doors for Miami, Ohio.
I think Cincinnati. I mean, until they prove otherwise, they're a pretty damn good team.
No more Marcus Freeman as he's the new defense coordinator at Notre Dame. So Brian Kelly supposedly, I heard from a friend, I got to go look it up for myself, supposedly made a comment that he could see Marcus Freeman being Notre Dame's next head coach when he decides to call it quits.
Interesting.
But we'll see. I don't know if Notre Dame would go for a guy who's never been a head coach before.
Yeah.
Number 1, Alabama is a 18.5-point favorite against number 14, Miami, Florida.
Alabama wins, but I'm going to say they don't cover. New quarterback. Okay. And new quarterback, Mac Jones, is in the NFL, obviously.
Yeah, Bryce Young got pretty much $1 million sponsorship already. Endorsement, whatever you want to call it.
On the road, Miami. I mean, who knows? I think
it's at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, so it's neutral.
Okay.
I think it's
Alabama always does. I should know. They always do that.
I think Alabama, or I think Miami keeps it close for a while. D'Eriq King's also another favorite for the Heisman, but then I think Alabama opens it up in the fourth quarter and covers. Man, Alabama's just stupid.
Yeah, they
are. Here's an interesting one. Number 23, Louisiana Lafayette. Remember, they did go into Iowa State and win last year. Mm-hmm. At number 21, Texas. And Texas is an 8-point favorite.
Is Texas back? That's a big question.
I don't think they're back. I do think they win and cover this game, and the Steve Sarkisian era gets off to a good start for them.
Yeah, I think they cover, and we get is Texas back memes for another week.
San Jose State at number 15, USC. USC is only a 14-point favorite in this game.
Yeah, I think USC. I think they cover that.
I do too. I think Solvis is going to have a good year for them. Clay Helton's built a little bit of safety, it looks like. So, game of the weekend: number 5, Georgia against number 3, Clemson, and this is played at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Clemson's 3-point favorites.
I'm going to go with Georgia.
Everybody's going for Georgia in this game except me. So I'm sticking with Clemson. I think Georgia's going to be good.
Quarterback. Who's Clemson's quarterback?
I can't pronounce his last name. He's the freshman that played against Notre Dame when Trevor Lawrence had COVID last year.
Yeah.
It starts with a U, and it's like 1 million letters long. I'm not even going to make a fool of myself.
Playing time. I was thinking he was a fresh-faced kid, but I forgot playing time.
I'm not going to make a fool of myself, but we'll see what JT Daniels can do for Georgia, old USC quarterback there. And let's go with two more. Night game Saturday night, number 16 LSU is a 3.5-point favorite at UCLA, who is already 1-0. They thrashed Hawaii over the weekend.
We'll go with Fighting and Orgerons on this one.
I'm going with Chip Kelly and the Bruins in an upset. I think it's a big year for both coaches. I think both coaches are kind of on the hot seat, and that's incredible. When we talk about Ed Orgeron,
2 years ago.
2 years ago, won a national title, but
undefeated Heisman Trophy.
Welcome to the SEC.
Yeah, they're not wrong.
And then Sunday night, national television, number 9 Notre Dame, 7.5-point favorites in Tallahassee against Florida State. Mike Norvell needs to have a good year. That was a disaster last year for him, his first year there out of Memphis. Maybe coaches just shouldn't leave Memphis anymore. But something's weird about this game because Notre Dame was just a 13-point favorite 2 days ago. Now it's 7.5.
Huh. So did you see that Jack Kaiser, starting linebacker for Notre Dame?
I did.
Near our neck of the woods.
I did. Yes. Good for him. Still should not have won Mr. Football over David Bell, but good for him.
I'm going to pick Notre Dame in this one. I mean, again, solid squad, and they're obviously pretty elite, but obviously they're just not that next level of the Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State just yet. But which is, I'd kill for their position. So
yeah,
but they're still pretty dang good.
I'm a Notre Dame hater on record, and it shows tonight because I'm picking Florida State. I have Notre Dame going 9-3. The over/under in Vegas is 9. I have them losing to Florida State, Wisconsin, and North Carolina. Their schedule, if they can get through about the first 4 weeks, so that would be at Florida State, Toledo, Purdue, and then Wisconsin, they might really be able to do some damage and make another run at the playoff again. It sets up for that, but I think they'll be good, but not as good as their fans think they will be.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm okay with that.
Me too. So that's going to do it for our picks for week 1. And any final thoughts, Webby, going into Saturday night? Anything you want to close with before we mention all of our sponsors? Yeah. Can't forget the sponsors.
I'm just excited. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm just happy to be back. One, back in Ross-Ade, 2, doing the show again on a consistent basis. Mm-hmm. Happy to have Purdue sports back in our lives again. It's been, even though there was a tournament for basketball and all that, and a pretty normal off season for a lot of different reasons, it still feels like it's been forever. Maybe it's just the fact that I know I'm going to the game, and it's been so long since the longest that you and I have ever experienced away from Ross-Ade. Since we've started going to games consistently, and I'm just excited, and I hope that the excitement carries through the entire Saturday night. So with the W,
I second that. I mean, we've been lucky enough to go to Purdue sporting events most of our lives, and it's a big part of our lives. And we got that taken away from us last year, and that was the first year since 1999 I haven't been to at least 3 Purdue football games in a year, and that was just hard. It was very hard on me mentally and emotionally at times, and I'm glad to have it back. And
get to the scoreboard too. Keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, it looks impressive in person, but I want to see it in action. Looking forward to being with all the Boilermaker Nation Saturday night, and hopefully we can pull out a W. But let's tell everybody the 4 sponsors of the Boiler Breakdown this year, and I will start things off with a repeat sponsor from last year, and that is Mad Mushroom.
We're happy to have them back.
We are happy to have them back, and they've been serving Boilermakers since 1993. They're located in the heart of West Lafayette, and well known as the home of the original cheese sticks. But whenever Webby and I like to visit, we like to sit down and have an ice cold beer while trying out their latest pizza of the month, which I don't know what it's going to be for September yet, since this is August 30th when they're recording this. Everybody will be hearing this on August 31st, but I'll have that ready to roll next week in our UConn preview. But next time you're in town, stop in and tell them the Boiler Breakdown sent you for $5 off any order over $20. And any Boiler Breakdown listener or viewer can also use their coupon code BREAK5, that's all in all caps, BREAK 5, to claim your discount online at madmushroom.com. Mad Mushroom, feed your head.
You guys did a great job last year of using that promo code, so let's see if we can beat it this year and throw them some business. Obviously, it's some damn good food, and hoping we get a chance to actually hang out with those guys this year. And I really want Mad Mush cheese sticks so badly, so
I could go for that right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another one of our sponsors back again this year is Webb's Family Pharmacy. Webb's Family Pharmacy is an independently owned community pharmacy with stores located in Rochester, Akron, and North Manchester, Indiana. Webb's is there for all of your pharmaceutical needs. Simply call them to set up an appointment, and their friendly and caring staff will be happy to help you for all of your high quality medical equipment, supplies, and pharmacy services. You can check them out at their website, which is www.webrx.com, or you can give them a call. Webb's Family Pharmacy, the professional pharmacy with the hometown touch, and they are boiler owned and operated. And also this is the 3rd year Shroff Landscaping Nurseries has been on board, and they've been in business for 50 years and can handle all of your landscaping needs, including landscape design, maintenance, irrigation, hardscaping, fall cleanup, and they're also licensed lawn applicators. Give them a call today for all of your landscaping needs at 574-223-2769. Shroff Landscaping, design with you in mind. And Webby, I will let you take this last sponsor read.
Last but not least, the new kids on the block here for the Boiler Breakdown. We've got The Shop. The Boiler Breakdown is brought to you by The Shop. The Shop has been bringing sports and hometown apparel to fans since 2011. You graduated high school, so it's been a minute. 10 years. From our humble beginnings in garages and basements, you can find us at our 2 retail stores and online. We make comfortable shirts. It makes us happy. The shop is located in Carmel. As I mentioned earlier in the show, they're located in Carmel, kind of in the Clay Terrace area, and Indianapolis in the Broad Ripple area, as well as online at theshopindy.com. We make the best shirts, period. Next time you're shopping online, use code BREAKDOWN for 25% off. There's some other t-shirt places out there that are, listening to other podcasts, whether it be Purdue related or not. They might give you 10, 15, 20. The shop is like, no, we're doing 25.
25% off. No excuse not to get some new Purdue merch.
Absolutely. So I'm wearing right now. For those who are watching, it's the big drum. I also have the big drum cup. Definitely playing that myself. But they do anything from obviously Purdue related apparel. They have, if you've got Hoosiers in your life like I do, they've got great shirts for them.
Sorry about that.
You got Ball State, they got Butler, Indiana State. They do things with the Pacers and the Colts, and just anything Indiana related. So they've got some vintage. They do a lot of cool vintage things like with Deer Creek Amphitheater. They do things with the national parks or the state parks in Indiana, not national, but state parks in Indiana. They do stickers, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, koozies, drinkware. anything is awesome. Their stores are pretty awesome. I know they just, the Broad Ripple location just moved to a little bit bigger location, so they're definitely growing. I say it's a great shop, great people. The shirts are super comfortable. They fit really well. So give them use that promo code online, support small business.
Absolutely. And what we love about all these is they're all boiler owned and operated. So. Mm-hmm. All right, Webby. Well, I want to thank everybody that tuned into the show tonight, and everybody that's currently listening to the show. If it's at on Tuesday, or maybe you're listening on your drive down to Ross-Ade or up to Ross-Ade or over to Ross-Ade and getting yourself hyped for Saturday night's game. But we appreciate each and every one of you. We're Purdue fans and alumni, just like a lot of you. We do the podcast for you. So looking forward to the rest of season 3 throughout football season and basketball season. And hopefully we're talking about many more W's than we are L's. But let's start it off Saturday night. Let's go beaver hunting. Let's boiler up. Let's hammer down.
Boiler up.